Few places in the world have captured the imagination quite like Santorini. With its iconic whitewashed buildings perched high above the Aegean, this Greek island has been the backdrop of countless films, travel documentaries, and romantic getaways. But for all its picturesque beauty, Santorini is also home to one of the most powerful volcanic calderas in human history, the very force that shaped the island's dramatic landscape. This week, reality has overshadowed the idyllic fantasy as thousands of residents and tourists flee amid an unprecedented wave of seismic activity. Earthquakes have rattled the island for days, while concerns over an impending volcanic eruption have reached a fever pitch. Streets that once buzzed with life now stand eerily empty, and the fear of nature's fury looms over the island. As experts scramble to understand what's happening beneath the surface, the people of Santorini face an uncertain future, caught between history and the present. The exodus from Santorini. Panic spread quickly as the tremors continued without pause. At first, locals remained calm, accustomed to the occasional rumble from the depths of the earth. But as the shaking grew stronger and more frequent, the mood shifted. Families packed their bags, tourists cut their vacations short, and ferry terminals and airports became overwhelmed with people desperate to escape. By Tuesday, an estimated 6,000 people had left, though some reports suggest the number could be as high as 12,000. The national airline, Aegean, doubled its flights to Athens, carrying thousands to safety. Boats of every kind, from commercial ferries to private yachts, became a lifeline, shuttling people away from the island that suddenly felt hostile and unpredictable. Residents who had lived in Santorini for generations made the painful choice to leave behind their homes and businesses, unsure of when or if they could return. The streets of Fira, the island's capital, fell silent. Shops and tavernas shuttered in an eerie foreshadowing of what might come next. For those who chose to stay, daily life became a test of nerves. Schools were closed, people slept in their cars or outdoors, and the night was filled with the sounds of distant rock slides and deep, unsettling rumbles from beneath the sea. With the fault line that triggered a deadly earthquake and tsunami in 1956 now activated, according to experts, the sense of dread continued to build. Santorini's history of disaster. Santorini's breathtaking beauty is a direct result of its violent past. Nearly 3,500 years ago, one of the most powerful volcanic eruptions in recorded history reshaped the island, burying settlements under layers of ash and forever altering the geography of the Aegean. Some historians believe that this cataclysmic event may have even contributed to the collapse of the Minoan civilization, as the resulting tsunamis and climate shifts had far-reaching consequences. The island has never been truly dormant. Over the centuries, smaller eruptions and earthquakes have continued to remind residents of the power beneath their feet. The most recent volcanic activity occurred in 1950, a relatively minor event that still sent plumes of ash into the sky and disrupted life on the island. But the current seismic activity is unlike anything Santorini has seen in decades, prompting concerns that history may be on the verge of repeating itself. The Unrelenting Tremors. The peaceful beauty of Santorini has been shattered by an onslaught of relentless seismic activity. In just 72 hours, over 300 undersea tremors have been recorded in and around the island, sending waves of panic through both residents and visitors. While some of these tremors were mild enough to go unnoticed, others shook buildings, toppled objects from shelves, and sent deep vibrations through the ground. The strongest so far, a magnitude 5.0 earthquake, was forceful enough to rattle the nerves of even the most seasoned locals. It wasn't just the strength of the quakes that unsettled people. It was their rapid and continuous nature. The ground barely had a chance to settle before the next tremor struck, creating an unending cycle of anxiety and unease. Seismologists monitoring the phenomenon are alarmed by what they are seeing. Clusters of earthquakes like this are rarely random. They indicate a larger process at work beneath the Earth's crust, whether it be tectonic stress along a fault line or the movement of magma pushing its way toward the surface. What is particularly concerning is the location of many of these tremors. Many have originated offshore in the waters northeast of Santorini, an area known for its volcanic activity. The nearby Colombo submarine volcano, which last erupted in 1650, has been a focal point of monitoring efforts. Given its history of deadly eruptions and tsunamis, scientists are watching closely to see if these tremors are signaling renewed activity. The Santorini-Amorgos fault line, responsible for a catastrophic 7.7 magnitude earthquake and tsunami in 1956, has also shown signs of reactivation. In the past, this fault has been capable of producing some of the most destructive quakes in the Aegean. The difference now is the sheer intensity of activity in such a short period of time. Since records have been kept, Santorini has never experienced so many tremors in such rapid succession. The frequency and magnitude of these quakes suggest an increase in pressure along the fault, something that could lead to a much larger seismic event. For those on the island, the physical shaking is only part of the ordeal. The psychological impact is just as profound. With no way of knowing whether the next tremor will be mild or devastating, residents live in a state of constant tension. Some have abandoned sleeping indoors, fearing that their homes may collapse if a major quake strikes. Instead, families are spending nights in their cars or even outside, despite the cold. Others have adopted a new routine. One family member stays awake each night to watch for warning signs, while the rest attempt to rest. Sleep deprivation is taking its toll as the stress of uncertainty mounts. Even those who aren't particularly fearful of earthquakes admit that the sheer volume of tremors has been unnerving. There are reports of a persistent, deep rumbling sound, something like distant thunder, coming from underground. This eerie noise, combined with the unpredictability of the quakes, has created an atmosphere of dread that hangs over the island like an invisible cloud. Shops and restaurants have shuttered their doors, and even the most optimistic residents are struggling to ignore the sense that something bigger is on the horizon. Could the volcano erupt? As the earthquakes continue, many are asking the question that no one wants to hear the answer to. Is Santorini's volcano about to erupt? Historically, the island follows a cycle of volcanic activity, with minor eruptions occurring roughly every 50 years. The last recorded eruption was in 1950, meaning Santorini is already overdue. Scientists studying the caldera have reported signs of mild seismic volcanic activity. This means that beneath the surface, changes are occurring, potentially involving magma movement. While some experts believe this could be a minor release of pressure, allowing the volcano to let off steam without a major eruption, others warn that the data is inconclusive. The possibility of a more significant event cannot be ruled out. What complicates the situation further is the presence of another active volcano just 5 miles northeast of Santorini. This underwater volcano, Colombo, is particularly dangerous because it sits beneath the sea, making any eruption even more unpredictable. In 1650, its last known eruption sent shockwaves through the region, causing a deadly tsunami and releasing toxic gases that suffocated those who remained. If Colombo were to erupt again, it could trigger landslides, tsunamis, or even underwater explosions capable of destabilizing the entire region. If Santorini's own volcano were to erupt, the immediate dangers would be substantial. Toxic gases like sulfur dioxide and carbon dioxide could be released into the air, creating an environmental hazard. Falling ash could smother buildings, disrupt air travel, and make breathing difficult for anyone exposed. In the worst-case scenario, the eruption could trigger a tsunami, devastating coastal areas and sending a wall of water crashing onto Santorini's shores. Authorities have placed the island under close surveillance, using monitoring equipment to detect changes in ground temperature, gas emissions, and seismic activity. But volcanic eruptions are notoriously difficult to predict with absolute certainty. Scientists are quick to remind the public that while warning signs can be identified, nature doesn't always follow a set timeline. The only thing that remains certain is that Santorini is experiencing an event unlike anything seen in recent history. The science behind the activity. To understand why Santorini is experiencing such extreme seismic activity, one must look deep beneath the surface. Literally. The island sits on the boundary between two major tectonic plates, making it one of the most geologically active locations in the world. The African plate is slowly moving under the Eurasian plate in a process called subduction, and this constant pressure fuels the region's earthquakes and volcanic eruptions. One of the primary concerns scientists have is that the movement of magma beneath Santorini may be increasing. When magma rises toward the surface, it pushes against the rock above it, creating fractures and triggering earthquakes. If the pressure continues to build, the magma could eventually break through, leading to an eruption. Recent geological surveys have shown that the crust beneath Santorini is thinning, a sign that magma chambers are shifting. At the same time, the increase in earthquake activity suggests that faults in the Earth's crust are moving. In some cases, these faults can act as pressure release valves, allowing stress to be distributed over time. But if a fault line ruptures in a way that destabilizes the magma chamber, it could set off a chain reaction, one that ends in both a powerful earthquake and volcanic eruption. Because of the island's unique geology, even minor shifts in tectonic activity can have dramatic consequences. The shape of the caldera, formed by previous eruptions, acts like a pressure cooker. Any change in gas emissions or magma movement must be taken seriously, as even a small disturbance could alter the island's fragile balance. Life in limbo. With no clear answers about what will happen next, life on Santorini has been thrown into a state of uncertainty. Many businesses, which rely on tourism for survival, have closed their doors. Hotels sit empty, restaurants that once served thousands of visitors a day are now dark and silent. Even Oya, famous for its breathtaking sunsets, has been all but abandoned. Yet, despite the exodus, some refuse to leave. For longtime residents, Santorini is more than just a home. It's a part of who they are. They have lived through tremors before, and many believe this crisis, too, will pass. Others, however, don't have a choice. Their entire livelihoods are tied to the island, and leaving means financial ruin. Even those who have already fled are left with unanswered questions. When will it be safe to return? Is this just a temporary surge in activity, or is Santorini on the verge of something far worse? For now, the island waits, caught between the past and the future, as the earth beneath it continues to tremble. The watch continues. Authorities have placed Santorini under heightened alert, with teams of seismologists, geologists, and emergency responders stationed across the island. Drone surveillance, thermal imaging, and satellite data are all being used to track any changes in the volcano's behavior. But despite the technology, nature remains unpredictable. The people of Santorini wait, some from afar, some still on the island, as the earth continues to tremble beneath their feet. Now it's time to hear from you. If you were in Santorini, would you have stayed or left? Do you think the island is on the verge of another major eruption, or is this just another chapter in its long history of seismic activity? Let us know in the comments below.